Well, good morning, everyone. And as we start off today, I just wanted to show you this map looking back the last 40 days of precipitation ranks by climate district. And a lot of our discussion, of course, has been the spotty drought that's shown up across parts of the Corn Belt and then the extensive drought that's in the southern plains getting into the Mid-South. And just to say again, we have several climate reporting districts in here that are showing a top 5 or even the driest such time period on record. And given the upcoming shifts we're seeing in this jet stream pattern, it's going to be important to see if we can finally deliver some better moisture in through here via some weak fronts that could possibly finally break through some of that heat and bring in moisture down here. But that's not coming anytime soon. We'll have to wait quite a bit of time for that ridge to really shift and set up here into the Gulf of Alaska to break things down and deliver those frontal boundaries farther to the south. This map summarizes our next 10 days pretty well in terms of precipitation. It's looking at the probability of getting more than an inch of rainfall. And one of the areas we've seen improvement in the recent model runs this week has been this part of the Corn Belt into the east. But the latest runs have also brought those fronts farther to the south, delivering better chances at getting some moisture into some of the very dry places we just discussed. How far into Texas does it make it? That's going to be the question. There will be isolated storms in this area, like the one that we saw last night around the panhandles getting into Texas here. But other than that, it's going to have to be the transition of this ridge into the Gulf of Alaska that could possibly break this pattern up and give us better precip. Because in the meantime, we still have excessive heat warnings, heat advisories. They stretch all the way from Texas into New England, and there are even pockets in the west where we have heated warnings as well. So there's still quite a bit of very hot air in this pattern. Now, if we just take a look at this morning's satellite imagery, actually, let's start last night and go toward this morning. We see this deep low that's kind of curling up here right along the U.S.-Canada border. And then this morning, it actually moved. Let's let that reset. There we go, right here over the Great Lakes. So this is a very tightly wound low. But again, we just come back last night as it moved through parts of northern Minnesota. It's going to be the tail end of this front as it sweeps through the eastern Corn Belt that I'm going to be watching today. So early this morning, here we go again. That front's sitting right in through here. And it's a very weak front, but it could initiate some storms later today. The Storm Prediction Center's got a close eye on that particular region. Tomorrow, that frontal boundary slides east, so it's going to be parts of New England here, and then from central North Carolina back towards central Mississippi that we're going to be on the lookout for those stronger storms. We can see that on our high-res NAM model. So watch, this is late this morning on Wednesday, getting into Wednesday afternoon and evening. So the low curls up over the Hudson, or excuse me, over the Great Lakes. It's heading toward the Hudson Bay, but it curls up over the Great Lakes, and there's that front. Outside of that, isolated convection in the southeast, and our southwest monsoon continues. But you'll see that that frontal boundary pushes through parts of the Ohio River Valley tonight, possibly initiating some strong to severe storms. We'll have to watch the outflow of these storms tonight as they move through parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. Getting into tomorrow, that weak frontal boundary still sits right in through here. So tomorrow afternoon and evening, that's where we're going to be watching for the strong to severe storm threat on Thursday. Okay. Now from that point forward, just take a look at this graphic here. This is the next 3 days versus day 4 through 7. What I'm really watching is that shift west in the ridge and what it could possibly do later this weekend to deliver some cooler air into the upper Midwest and Canadian Prairie and northern plains, and also increase those chances of storms here on these very weak frontal boundaries. But if you're tucked away south of that ridge here, I think it's just going to be too hot and too dry to really bring in much relief. I'd like to show it to you in the European model. So we've seen through Thursdays. Let's pick things up here on Friday morning. So deep lows continue to spin up here in the Hudson Bay. We're watching this system coming out of Canada here on Friday that's going to sweep into the Great Lakes, and there's the front with it on Saturday night. Now that front, as long as it holds together, delivers a good shot at rain to the Great Lakes states and stalls out here late in the weekend on Sunday into Monday, and that's where we're going to be seeing the best chances for seeing those isolated storms coming through and kind of breaking up some of the very dry conditions we've seen there. But then next Tuesday, the next round comes in. See it here? That's the impact of the ridge going west, better flow out of the northwest here across both the Corn Belts, and possibly delivering some much needed rain midweek next week for a lot of folks. What I'm waiting to see is how far to the south does that front sag midweek next week to deliver the rains here into parts of the very dry mid-south and southern plains. The European model wants to do that. So the latest ensembles keep pushing that farther back to the west here, delivering better chances at seeing some precipitation there. But overall, this pattern is quite favorable in the eastern part of the United States. Just remember, this does not mean that everybody gets above average rain. This is just an ensemble average that we're looking at here. What we're going to have a lot of difficulty overcoming is just how dry conditions are here, because a lot of times when we see these better precipitation signals, the drier soils and drier air often win out over what the model suggests could get in here. So that's going to be the biggest thing I'll have to be watching. But these drier soils are also critical for keeping the temperatures high. And the reason why is if you don't have the moisture in the soil to evaporate, all of the solar energy goes into heating up the ground. As we finish up today looking at temperatures, it is a scorcher for much of the country, stretching again from Texas into New England, parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, deep here into the 90s and low 100s. Going into Thursday's high temperatures, it returns back to the western Corn Belt. Same thing on Friday. Large area here of triple-digit heat on Friday. Getting into the weekend, got that cooler shot of air coming in the northern plains Saturday, Sunday. That front pushes a bit farther to the south, brings some relief into this particular region. But if you notice, throughout this entire time period, the heat stays on here, and we keep rebuilding time periods of 5 to 10 degrees above normal in the Pacific Northwest. Looking at that 5-day sliding window of temperatures, here we go out forward to finish the month of July. That ridge builds in the Gulf of Alaska. The heat comes with it. Real extended period of above normal temperatures for the Northwest. But downstream of it, better chances at near normal, even cooler than normal temperatures. How far to the south this makes it by the end of July is still kind of a question up in the air here. But you can see the models want to keep the heat on from Texas over to the mid-Atlantic. And it kind of stays there going out to the beginning of August. Most important shift we saw in temperature pattern here at the beginning of August is the return of that ridge kind of spreading itself back open and warmer conditions coming back into parts of the western Corn Belt, the Canadian Prairie, and the northern plains. The European heat wave is moving to the east, and that was after yesterday's extremely high temperatures that even put fires into parts of the UK here. We are seeing better storm chances through here, but a lot of area stretching from France and Germany all the way over to western parts of Ukraine remain very dry. If you get a chance to read the in-depth report today, I did put an interesting link in there and an image I want you to check out. It's the Vegetation Health Index. It's derived by satellite, but it's a comparison, as you see on this map, to what things looked like last year. So I'll offer up a little bit of a discussion there and give you more detail on this upcoming pattern. So give a chance to read the report today. I'd appreciate it. I'll talk to you again tomorrow morning. Until then, have a good rest of your day. Thanks.